they did not mention that they signed up because of the studies. So we killed it. We stopped doing those studies. Actually, made them all free on our blog, and that also basically helped us cut costs. So we stopped producing content that nobody wanted, or at least they didn't want to pay for it.
Which is a big difference, and it helped your top of the funnel, like your very top of the funnel, by making this content available for anyone.
Sure. Those blog posts on the content on the blog, performed on average a little bit better than our average blog posts. Not like hugely better, but also I like those studies because nobody else does those. It's original content, great for attracting backlinks. But most of all, it helps us. It helped us gain focus for our paid product development. Stop doing this, do more of this other thing. Change the messaging on the website. Let's stop talking about the UX research studies and focus on the CRO aspect.
Okay, so you did those interviews and surveys. How did you make sense out of them? What is the typical process that you used for this one?
So every call was documented. We used Google spreadsheets, and so during our weekly meetings, basically we just read through them. And the amount of responses, it was not over. It's not like we had to read through thousands and thousands of responses. We were just getting started. So basically, every week we maybe had, I don't know, 10, 20 more, so it was like manageable quantity. And the things that people said started to repeat a lot. So you immediately started to see patterns.
And then you did cancellation interviews and surveys. So that's different from the ones where you're actually onboarding them and asking questions about their intention.
Exactly. So here, as soon as they canceled, we sent them an email asking, basically what made you cancel. Even worse response rate compared to onboarding. But then we flipped something around. We flipped it around by when people are canceling, they couldn't just cancel. They had to choose cancellation reason in our product itself. So before they could hit cancel, they had to choose, from 5 top reasons plus other, where they could just write in the reason. Like, no, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have, XYZ, typical reasons that we saw. And then that was a really good move because every single cancellation, we are seeing the reason why people are canceling.
And you used the multiple choice question. I mean, a single choice, but the questions, the categories that people could answer with in this cancellation survey were filled from cancellation interviews you did in the past, and you kind of had a rough idea of the reasons.
Exactly. And so then we just wanted to A, get more responses, and B, quantify what are the top reasons, out of those.
And so remind us, if you had to pick the top 3 reasons why people were canceling, what were they?
Number 1, by far, I don't have time, because when is learning a priority? People have their to-do lists, a million things in them. How often is learning? Like, do you have learning in your daily to-do list?
Nope.
Yeah, so most people don't. And that's, again, why live classes helps us combat that, because now classes happen on a specific time, like Tuesday, 2 p.m. So people actually put it on their calendar. They make time for learning. Whereas self-study, difficult, very difficult.
And this is
second reason was it's too expensive. We can't justify it.
This is probably one of the toughest thing to do, isn't it? To change people's behavior, to make them do something that they genuinely don't do. So instead of maybe pushing people to do something that will never do, what you've done is change what you were offering in order for them to change their behavior.
Exactly. Change their mindset around what online learning is like, because if I have all the time in the world to consume a course, chances are I never will.
Exactly. So those are the very qualitative and human-based things you've done to understand what was going on. And this is really based on people, isn't it? This is just individuals like you and me that you talk to. So that's interesting.
Exactly.
But then you did something a little bit more, I would say, scientific, even though it was also based on people. You did churn analysis. So tell us a little bit more about this particular thing.
So what we did was we exported out our basically subscription data into Excel, and in Excel we split the subscription list into two people who were members only maybe 1-2 months, and people who were still members or who canceled after maybe 4 months, who had a longer retention period. So what's the difference between those? And we based on their, and some were Gmails and Yahoos and so on, so we couldn't really use those. So we filtered out all the free email servers, and we're left with actual business domains. And so then for those domain names, we did SEO analysis, meaning that we looked at their domain authority, what kind of, how they're like big sites, small sites. And then also with Clearbit, we enriched the list. And Clearbit gives you data on, revenue and who these people are, their employment seniority level, things like this.
So let me break it down right now, because once again, this is really critical. SEO analysis, SEO stands for search engine optimization, and domain authority is a measure that was invented by Moz to understand how popular a website is and how influential it is. So it's ranked from 0 to 100. And so this is interesting. So first of all, you looked at that, and what you had Excel, you use Google Spreadsheet. Did you use an extension to plug the domain authority, or was it, how did you go about it? Do you remember?
To be honest, I don't remember. We might have I think we just, extracted the domain names from the spreadsheet, using a filter in Excel, and then we put them in a bulk, basically exported bulk into an SEO tool. Maybe we used Ahrefs. I don't remember which one actually. Okay. But basically we got the data for each domain fairly quickly.
And so you had this column where you had this number or domain authority.
Exactly.
And then you did something quite interesting. So you use data enrichment, which is a way to from one email address to actually get a lot more information about people, their role, the company they're in, their industry, the size of the company. I mean, there is so many things, right? So you use Clearbit for that. What information were you looking at in particular?
So Clearbit will give you like 50 data points. We were mostly interested in the company. Well, we didn't know what we were looking for, but quite soon we started to see that maybe company size is one of those things. So we looked at annual revenue. Also, it gives you Alexa rank, so we looked at that. And titles, job titles, like who these people are. Are they specialists? Are they managers? And of course, with Clearbit, the job titles is like, one man show says that I'm a CEO, So both the CEO of Walmart and the one man show is both the CEO. So it gets muddy, but the revenue stuff, and combined with the domain authority, made it pretty clear that more established, bigger companies were the ones that retain longer.
This is crazy. This is very good insight just from an Excel spreadsheet. So it's further away from human to human type of relationship, even though you use that to really understand people. So Clearbit is great. It's a great tool from our own experience in Hotjar. When we used it, you don't expect to get 100% of the data on 100% of the people. What happens most of the time is you get some information on certain things and not on all others. So
exactly,
you need to have a certain amount of data to start making sense out of it. Like
right. I mean, that is the reality of the world, that we are always operating with imperfect data. Nobody ever has perfect data, even in our lives. Who you going to marry? Well, you don't have perfect data how it's going to work out. You don't have perfect data about taking a job offer. We're always making decisions based on imperfect data. And it was a race against the time, right? We needed to make a decision, especially once we got closer to the point where we had 1 month left. So like in A/B tests, if you need a big uplift, you can't change just one small thing. You need to change a whole bunch of things. So then in this 1 month leading up to our running out of money, we changed a lot of things and it worked.
Right. So to summarize your story, and especially the key points that you said are critical. So you did customer development, which is basically a way to understand people and what they're trying to achieve. And so you did customer development interviews during onboarding to understand what people were looking for and who they were. You did constellation interviews and surveys to understand why people were leaving. And you added this customer survey at the end of each when somebody was trying to cancel to understand why. And so
product analytics to see what people are using, what are they not using.
So you did, product analytics as well as part of customer development. And then you did churn analysis to understand at scale the profiles of people and depending on the behavior. And you used two things. You used kind of SEO analysis to understand the influence of the domain, and then you used data enrichment to understand those email address, who they are, like behind this email address. And as you said at the end, which I really like, you will never be able to take a decision based on 100% perfect data. Most of the time you will have 20% of the data that usually gives you 80% of the insights. I mean, that's a Pareto law. It's easy for me to say that from now, but from experience it seems like this is usually the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's also, I mean, that is the daily life of anybody who's doing any optimization online. You're always having to you build your hypothesis based on some data points you have available, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Outside of the resources you mentioned during this call, do you have anything that you would recommend the listeners or the viewers to be more human, to be closer to their customers?
In terms of which resource to read?
Could be podcasts, blog, videos, anything that you think could be helpful for them.
Well, for customer development, I've been in the past really influenced by Steve Blank, Startup Owner's Manual, Some Steps to Epiphany. I don't remember how many.
4.
And Lean Startup. Those, yeah.
I would say that you should also check out Conversion Excel, CXL, the blog, and CXL Institute. As you mentioned, new content every 2 weeks is really helpful with practitioners that are experts in what they do and very niche. So definitely check that out. As for me, you can find more information and links to the resources we mentioned and all the details that we talked about in this episode in our show notes on our website. You just have to go to hotjar.com/humans. So Pep, once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.